Hi, everybody. Bill Prince here again, and we're going to spend just a few minutes talking about some of the material that's contained in Chapter 23 of our book, which deals with immigration and labor laws. Due to the time and the depth of content in this course and in this particular subject area, we're not going to be able to spend a whole lot of time on it. So you can go back and review some of the information, particularly about the labor laws that are contained in this PowerPoint slide and in the notes. But I did want to mention a little bit about the immigration laws because, obviously with the recent election of the new president and the new administration that sort of came in on this wave of, we're going to build a wall, we're going to stop immigration, and so forth. This has obviously been something that has been in the news time and time again. It's a controversial issue, and one that doesn't really have a lot of easy answers. But I thought we would just speak for a couple of minutes about the some of the laws and some of the policies that apply to that. IRCA, or the Immigration Reform and Control Act, basically does several things. It prohibits the hiring or recruiting of illegal immigrants, which again, we have seen domestic corporations, engage in this conduct time and time again, where they will specifically go out and hire folks who do not have the appropriate documentation to legally work here. And there's all sorts of motives and reasons for doing that, but it is clearly against the law for that to happen. Unfortunately, it seems that we punish the immigrants more than we punish the businesses that sort of recruit them and quite frankly, in some cases, probably assist in bringing them into the country. Furthermore, the Immigration Reform and Control Act requires that employers have to do the Form I-9s for each employee, verifying that each employee is either a U.S. citizen or is otherwise entitled to work in the U.S. And I'm suspecting that most of us have probably, at one point or another here recently, if we've taken on new employment, been required to fill out the I-9 and be part of that process as well. And furthermore, the Immigration Reform and Control Act prohibits employment discrimination on the basis that a person might be an illegal immigrant, but excuses discrimination of the person if the person is an illegal immigrant. So just a little bit of talking out of both sides of the mouth there. Obviously, if somebody is an illegal immigrant, they are not going to complain about this because, number one, there is no protection for them under this act, and number two, they would probably find themselves on a quick bus south of the border. An employer, somebody who actually hires somebody who is not documented to work in this country, violates this act if they hire somebody who is not entitled to work in the U.S. and knows or should have known of the employee's status. Now, you and I both know that there are a number of easy ways that we can confirm whether or not somebody is here legally and whether or not somebody has the ability to work. But again, in some cases, employers simply turn a blind eye and view any fines that they might have to pay if they get caught as a cost of doing business. Furthermore, an employer violates IRCA if it subsequently becomes aware of the employee's illegal status and does not promptly fire him or her, or fails to satisfy the statute's paperwork requirements. So those are a couple of situations where the employer can get into trouble. Now, the group that enforces and investigates these type of things is ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They've been in the news a whole lot lately by doing their crackdowns on different neighborhoods, communities, and businesses. And their job is to investigate possible violations of the act, and they have the authority to pursue both administrative and criminal sanctions against employers who knowingly hire or retain illegal workers. Again, we really don't see that many significant sanctions being imposed against the businesses doing the hiring. The Immigration Act of 1990 limits the number of illegal immigrants entering the U.S. each year by capping the number of visas that are going to be issued each year. Now, interestingly, and again, I guess we can debate this all day long, but net immigration is actually down in this country. And, frankly, there are a number number of businesses who are a little bit concerned that sort of this chilling effect of this new legislation and the new policy and the new zeal to enforce it may actually, impact their ability to do business because they can't find other folks to do the work that they need to be done. All right. What about employers who want to hire folks that are here, who are documented and are legal to work within the United States? Well, they can do these three things. They can hire a self-authorized immigrant who is a permanent resident alien or who has already has a valid temporary employment authorization document. And that's again shown by presentation of an I-55-1 alien registration receipt or properly stamped foreign passport. If you like documentation and forms, this is the area of law for you. They also can obtain a non-resident labor certification or a green card for the non-citizen, entitling the employer to hire him for a permanent full-time position. Or in order to get a green card, the employer must show that no American worker is qualified, willing, and able to take the job, which in many cases is often the case, and offer the immigrant worker no less than the prevailing wage for the position, including fringe benefits. Finally, the worker can obtain a temporary non-immigrant visa, which allows a non-citizen to work in the U.S. for a period of time and requires the non-citizen to express his intent to depart the U.S. when the visa expires. So these are some ways that folks can legally work within this country without fear of criminal or civil sanctions for the employer or criminal or civil sanctions for the employee as well. All right. We're not going to spend a lot of time, really at all, talking about federal labor laws, but what I would ask you to do is if you have some time, just spend a few minutes reviewing some of the information that's in the lecture summary, along with what's in the PowerPoint presentation that you have a copy of, and that should give you a decent flavor of some of the issues in this particular area. Again, labor law would be the subject of an entire course, quite frankly, and to do it in a few minutes just wouldn't do it justice. But again, just spend a few moments looking at this, and I think it will provide you with some interesting information about the laws that exist and unionization and things of that nature. One thing that we might ought to mention as well is that, in addition to big policy changes sort of involving immigration, we've also seen some big policy changes involving unions. And again, the purpose of this class is not to talk about, whether unions are good or bad or things of that nature, but we have seen consistently attacks, particularly at the state level, on unions in an effort to weaken them, and we've seen this through right-to-work laws being passed. Missouri just recently passed it through the legislature, and the governor signed it, and these are bills that really make it more difficult for the unions to recruit folks and to strengthen their numbers. And again, I'll sort of leave it to you guys to decide whether unions are good or bad. But again, it's an issue to consider. So that's our brief discussion here, and we will visit with you all later. Take care.